Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Her Expat Live, the YouTube channel that brings female digital entrepreneurs, expats, and nomads the latest information on the industry and on the lifestyle to help you make informed decisions about expanding your global life. Today, we have two very fascinating experts on the crypto and Web3 space to talk to us a little bit about cryptocurrency, to demystify some of the mystery around this topic, and to help some females decide how best to navigate the space in terms of investing. Okay, so today we have Natalia Ivanova with us, and I'll give you a little bit of a background as to who she is. So Natalia is the founder and CEO of financial planning services that is called New Gen Wealth Creation. She comes from humble beginnings, but Natalia appreciates the value of hard work leading to wealth. In her earlier career, she spent some time at Morgan Stanley in Boston working with high net worth individuals, servicing business owners and top executives. Later, she joined the team at Morgan Stanley's New York City office with 1.7 billion US dollars in assets as of 2019 as a registered associate, portfolio management associate, syndicate coordinator, and financial advisor. Now she helps young professionals and business owners turn their finances into a resource for building a solid wealth foundation early in life. Through New Gen Wealth Creation, she provides affordable and modern financial planning programs for people with different levels of wealth so everyone can experience the benefits of savvy financial skills. Also, Natalia is one of Her Expat Life's partners. So if you would like to get some discounts on the services that she provides, please head over to herexpatlife.com, click on our membership program, make sure that you register, and you will get some discounts on not only the services that Natalia offers, but services across the board from all of our partners. Thank you, Natalia, for joining us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. We also have with us Shelley Schachter, who is a global chief compliance officer within the Web3 industry. And Shelley has over 30 years experience in various technical and compliance roles. She is driving increased consumer and institutional confidence through regulatory compliance in the decentralized economy. She has worked for several high-profile firms, including HSBC, EY, EFG International, Aviva, Marsh, and Pay.uk. She is an outspoken advocate for underrepresented groups in the workspace, and she enthusiastically combines knowing what good looks like in TradeFi with the passion for living within and alongside the metaverse in a re-imaged regulatory matrix for Web3 and beyond. Wow, Shelley, thank you for joining us today.
Pronouncing that really long sentence. Pumped to be here.
Okay, now that we've got the formalities out the way, for those of you at home, the idea behind today's video is to kind of demystify a little bit crypto and blockchain technology and this entire space. In the last few years, we've seen quite a boom, but for the average Joe on the street, it's a little bit of a mystery how to get into the space. There's also been a lot of scandal lately, and I think people are hesitant or fearful or concerned that this is a bubble that's going to burst. So we're going to really start from the beginning, the basics of crypto, talk about how females in particular can get into the space, and then we'll tackle some of the more challenging questions. Okay, so my first one is quite basic. Shelley, let's jump to you for this. What is cryptocurrency and how does it differ from traditional forms of currency?
So that sounds like a really quick question, but it's actually hugely complex. Yeah. And so digital assets, cryptocurrency is one part of the digital asset space. And if you have never come across crypto before, maybe the best way to conceptualize it is like it can, but doesn't always function like any other foreign currency exchange deal, with the biggest differentiator being very much heightened volatility, and there is no insurer of last resort. So there's no centralized bank sitting behind saying this is what the value of the currency is because it's pegged to a central currency or central bank. Saying that, there are stable coins, and some stable coins are fully collateralized, which means that for every stable coin you buy, there is 100% backing of the underlying currency. But that's actually really different to traditional finance, where if you're going to be trading anything, banks are only required to own anything from around 8% of what it is they're lending out or delivering as e-money, not 100%. So it is very different. And I'll wrap this up really quickly, is that if you've come to this podcast and you don't know what is crypto, just go to Google, go to Investopedia. It is many things to many people. And so it's about finding out what the digital asset space and crypto in particular is going to be for you. Is it going to be a means of storage of value, a means of payment, a bit of a punt, like having a favorite racehorse, or is it going to form part of a diversified investment portfolio? It can be all those things.
Okay. Natalia, what are your thoughts as someone who is in the financial advising space? What do you think is crypto?
I will break down a little bit closer to the currency of the difference between the cryptocurrency and the traditional currency that we know and use every day. But I think what Shelley mentioned is extremely important. It's a lot of different things. So while I'm bringing it down to one easier aspect, it's a very complex topic. When it comes to the currency itself, cryptocurrency is peer-to-peer system that allows the exchange of payments or the data without any centralized authority. And that's extremely important to understand, that security of this technology is provided by the complex codes based on mathematics. Now, the regular currency, that physical, but it also can be digital, it does need banks and intermediaries to make it secure. And it also produced by the central authorities. So that's like a big difference between the physical currency, the one we use and know, and the cryptocurrency, the digital currency, as we say.
Okay, perfect. That takes us to my next question. Okay, Shelley, so can you explain blockchain technology and how it is used to create cryptocurrency?
Okay, so it's exactly the same as rocket science, which means that it sounds really complicated, but when you break it down, so blockchain technology is a catch-all phrase where what you have is a decentralized record of activity that has taken place. And it also depends what kind of blockchain it is. So whether it's a public blockchain, a private blockchain, hybrid blockchain, consortium blockchain, all of those has a really big impact on what is the blockchain. But let me take it really high level and really simple, is the blockchain is an immutable ledger. So it's like a book of receipts for stuff that's gone on. And it is publicly available to view, and it is not anonymous, it is pseudonymous, which means that no one can identify you necessarily from your activity on the blockchain, but your wallet addresses should make you identifiable to law enforcement agencies.
Okay. So it's kind of how you keep track of activity, or how the activity on the system is monitored.
Yeah, and let me give you a really brief example. I believe it's King's College in London are now issuing offers to students through an NFT. That is what's called, I love it, it's such a cute name, a soul-bound NFT. So it means that only you can direct people to look on the blockchain to see that you authentically had an offer from King's College. And as you go through your course and pass your course credits, what you scored, what subjects it was in, is all going to be a matter of public, unchangeable record. So we're about 30 years away from the last ever politician being able to lie on their CV and get away with it, because all this information, and there's real privacy considerations around this as well, some of them not so pleasant, but you will never have the chance to turn over and start a clean page in future when everything's on the blockchain, because there's no page to turn. It's going to be there and stay there.
Wow. Okay. So definitely blockchain is here to stay. Yeah?
It is.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And then Natalia, maybe you can tell us what are some popular cryptocurrencies that are currently available and how do they differ in terms of features?
Well, the most popular ones that everyone knows, and probably everyone who's watching the video knows, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they have a distinct difference between them. Bitcoin, designed as a currency, so it's like a stone of value, while Ethereum, it's designed and intended to share smart contracts. And in the usage, the way it's used is also very different, right? So for the Ethereum, you have such a wide aspect of usage based on the same technology, both of them based on exactly technology that Shelley just described. But Ethereum just connects a transaction between the ownership, data, and information. And it's the way the blockchain works. It just stores the information, and you can go back to the history of original blockchain, right? So I think that's like the main two currencies that were created originally. And then based on them, now there's so many other currencies and tokens. And then some of them are centralized and some of them decentralized. So it's very important to understand that not all of those tokens that are available out there are actually decentralized and use the original technology. Majority of them are collateralized and do have a central entity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shelley, would you like to add anything there about what is floating around in terms of the different currencies?
No, I'm really happy with that answer, because that concept that Bitcoin was the digital gold, and there's Bitcoin, and it rhymes with bit but begins with sh, and all the rest are called that, and that's not really proving to be the case anymore. And so it's very difficult to anticipate what is going to be the next big thing in crypto. Personally, I see that the Bitcoin maximalization, there is merit to that. The institutional adoption of digital assets is very much focused on Bitcoin as the primary asset and Ethereum as the hedge. So anything that goes beyond that, you're really getting into the realms of nobody knows. And if they tell you that they know, really check them out.
Okay, very important to keep that at the back of our mind. We'll delve in a little bit later into some of the scandals that have erupted in this space.
I want to add that it's very important to understand that the whole cryptocurrency, the blockchain, this is a brand new technology, and we are at the beginning of it. It still will define and mature in some way that we don't maybe even know yet. Just kind of compare it to the internet era. When the internet came on, it was fraudulent and everyone was skeptical and didn't want to use it, and nobody was like, I'm never gonna sell my stuff on the internet. What are you, crazy, right? It's a very similar concept right now. The way we look at cryptocurrency, it's a baby that will grow into something that we have no idea yet what it will be. So while it's very important to stay on top of the information and know it and invest in it, I think it's extremely important to stay on top of the news and its development, because if you don't stay on top, it's not the asset that you put money in and just leave it there. It will continue to change, and you have to make adjustments and change along the way.
Okay. Natalia, on that note, what are the risks and potential rewards of investing in cryptocurrency? Now, I know this is a bit of a complicated question to answer, but just off the top of your head, how do you see people being rewarded by being in this space, and also some of the risks that might come with that?
I think it's very good and simple question, actually. Just like with any investment, the risk is to lose your investment, and the reward is get the return on your investment, right? So nothing is different here with cryptocurrency. If you understand that, a lot of people enter the space because of speculation aspect, but if you understand the technology, just like Shelley said, it's an amazing technology that we should have exposure to. right? And currently there is not a lot of options that can give us that exposure. So we kind of have to be very smart of what we utilize towards what we put and invest in our money. But just like with any investment, you have to be very careful how much you put in it. You have to be very careful of diversification within its bucket, right? So we invest in stocks, we invest in bonds, we invest in cryptocurrency, and within those buckets, you have to also do diversification. So the idea is, if you want to invest in it, you have to understand any investment equals risk of losing your money, and as long as you understand that, you can start investing in it. It's pretty, I'm sure we will talk about that, but
yeah, perfect. Okay, and then Shelley, if someone is in the crypto space, how do they go about buying and selling cryptocurrency, and what platforms are available to do so?
It depends which jurisdiction you're in. I would always look for an exchange that is registered in the jurisdiction that you're in, that has phone and in-app chat for customer services, because otherwise you might think you're having a great experience until you're not, and then there's no one to talk to who speaks your language. So going local is an important consideration, and you can find out who is registered with your local regulators just by Googling around and seeing. But then you should also go to Crunchbase and have a look at the funding of the exchange and make sure that their runway is long enough. And the most important thing, I cannot emphasize this advice strongly enough, is that if you're putting your money, your digital assets onto a platform, do you retain the private keys? Because if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. And what we saw with, you mentioned the scandals that have gone on. What we saw with FTX, for example, was rehypothecation, which is my favorite new word for 2022 and 2023. And what it means, rehypothecation means you give me your money, I can do what I want with your money. So you want to look for exchanges that do not rehypothecate customer funds, that keep customer funds segregated. And if you can't get that, then go on to exchange, do whatever trades it is you want to buy, and then put your crypto into a cold storage wallet. Again, you don't have the keys to that. It's also not your crypto. It's just going to be lost for good. So you have to be really careful all the time, no matter what you're doing. But just be aware that history has told us if you give your money to an untrusted exchange, you might not get it back.
Okay, very good advice. Thank you for that.
I will add here that just to clarify what Shelley was saying, there's two ways to start investing in crypto. One is centralized and one is decentralized. Decentralized is when you do it directly at the exchange. This is where it's extremely important to keep all of your keys and passwords and stuff. You lose it, you lose your money. It's very simple, like Shelley said. And then with centralized, this is basically like having a bank for your cryptocurrency, right? And in US, I will just speak for US, the popular ones that each of them, they also building and they also finding themselves, each of them known for different things, like Kraken known for low fees. I will just throw some names so people can start Googling and learn more about it. Coinbase is known for, it's great for the beginners. Crypto.com is known for user-friendly interface. Gemini is known for security, right? So all of those different ones, it's basically you opening your account within that bank, and then you able to trade through them. So this is where you can find some sort of customer service, and that's how you research those companies. You look at do they have a customer service or not, right? Because it's important. When you start in, you will run into questions. I promise you will run into questions. The fees, some of them charge per platform, some of them charge a subscription, and some of them charge a transaction fee. Some of them charge both. So you have to see if you trade in a lot, and if you're trading for a long term and you don't really touch it, what will make sense and save you most of the cost, right? You have to keep an eye on regulations and reputation. So that's extremely important, because after all of the scandals that happened over the past 2 years, there's a lot of information out there on the reputation of these firms. All of them ran into those questions. And just to back up on what Shelley was saying, when you open the accounts with those kind of custodials or the banks sort of for cryptocurrency, it's very important how they open the account. They can segregate it into one bucket and they trade all the clients' accounts, or they can open an account per you put your money in there and trades happening there. So the way they do it is extremely important, because with FTX, just like Charlotte said, it was one bucket. With some companies, it's different, and you just have to have that knowledge before you start doing that. Especially if something goes south, which can happen. Nobody is protected. If you don't have those understandings, you just will find so much more stress on just like figuring out the stuff at the bad day or bad situation when it's happening. So you kind of have to get your knowledge first and then do it. That's, I think, the top advice I can give.
Yeah,
for the platforms.
And sorry, you're absolutely right. I didn't disaggregate centralized and decentralized, assuming if someone doesn't know how to buy crypto, the first dipping their toe in the water is probably going to be through a centralized exchange.
Yeah, it's very complicated to start directly at the exchange, especially when you don't know much about the technology and how it works. It does create a lot of, for beginners, it does create a lot of those problems of losing keys, passwords, because we're so used to, I forgot it, I like press on forget password, boom, I'm done, I'm back in the game. Not for cryptocurrency, very different game.
Okay, so to be clear, with crypto, if you lose your key, that's it. There's no getting it back. There's no, that's it, it's done. Okay. Kind of extending onto what we're talking about, Natalia, what are some strategies for managing risk when investing in crypto that maybe we haven't mentioned?
I will say that back to what I was saying earlier, is diversification is the key to reducing the risk. Again, there is no way to eliminate risk at all. But when you think about, and I will talk not about investing just in crypto, I will talk about perspective of like investing your portfolio, investing your money into something, right? When people start investing, they invest in stocks, bonds, real estate, alternatives, cryptocurrency. So you need to diversify through those buckets. And then in each bucket, you have to diversify within those buckets. So for the stocks, for example, right, we always talk about different sectors. It's technology, it's communication, finance. For real estate, the same way you break it down. For the bonds, you break it down. The same for cryptocurrency. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's very old saying that keep making the truth in the entire investing game. And then another thing that I will say for cryptocurrency is manage your risk expectations. If you just starting, don't go a lot into it. Have 5% of your entire portfolio in cryptocurrency and see how you feel about it. Learn on it. See how it's moving and how you act. Because we talk about risk tolerance in financial industry a lot. But people, when you ask for the first time a person, what's your risk tolerance? Nobody will tell you. They have no idea. They need to have money in the market to see it drop 20%, and then they will have feelings about. So you kind of have to start slowly, put your money into those different buckets, see how you act on it. If you like it, if you're like, okay, you know what, I kind of learn more, I understand a little bit more, I can handle more, maybe increase it to, again, it's every person will have a different allocation. But I think the key to answer your question, I'm kind of like did the long spin here, is diversifying. Doesn't matter what you invest in, it's all about diversification. You have to invest in multiple sectors and not have any emotional attachment. We're building the wealth. We're not getting close to specific investment.
Okay, perfect. And then Shelley, what are some common misconceptions about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology?
So I think the first common misconception is that any celebrity endorsement has any value, or saying, oh, buy whatever token it is and go 10x. I'm sorry, that's like, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Just because it's crypto doesn't make it true. Just because some people have done what we call a rug pull doesn't mean that you're going to be the one holding the rug when it's pulled, even if you get in early to something. So the biggest misconception is that somehow it's different to any other potential scam or hyperbole or environment, like the tulip bulbs in 16th century Netherlands. Yeah, it's potentially the same. And I actually want to relate back to Natalia's previous comment, which was about diversification. So obviously, I never give an investment advice. I don't have the kahunas for it because it's other people's money. But I can also say that what I look at myself is that there are degrees of diversification that I can look at for my own portfolio, which is around there are a few coins or use cases that I'm absolutely convinced by, and I can go into those directly. There are then baskets of activity which are tracked by either funds or fund managers or model portfolioists, which are also quite interesting to copy what they do so you can have their experience, but you're not actually paying for the management fees. And then there's this super diversification, which is a fund of funds, where yes, you're going to be paying more in fees, but actually you're really paying to smooth the volatility there. So you would expect to see the longer term gains.
Natalia, let's talk about, we'll be heading into females in particular in this space, yeah? Okay, so what do you think are the unique challenges that women face, in particular females, when it comes to investing in cryptocurrency, and how can we start overcoming these challenges?
Oh, that's a great question. I will say that the only one challenge that women have when it comes to starting investing is lack of confidence. And why I'm saying that, there is right now, we live in this beautiful century when so much is available out there, right? You can get education in YouTube now. You don't have to go pay $90,000 a year to get education, right? So the same for investing and building your wealth, introducing yourself to crypto. Everything is available out there. And the only thing that women just lack confidence to start it. I'll give you some numbers that are pretty interesting. I'm very statistical person, so I like all the numbers and stuff. So women, 16% on average between all of the different countries, right? 16% of men invest in cryptocurrency, while only 7% of women invest. It's half. Now, cryptocurrency is relatively new, right? So, okay, we're still learning, everyone's learning, and women are way more cautious investors. Makes sense a little bit, right? But then let's take a look at the stock market. We've been with stock market for how many years? Men, 66% of men invest in stock market, and only 48% of women invest in stock market. So the challenge that women run to is not making that first step. And that's something that all of us have to think about. Now, a lot of people can argue that, look, it's expensive, and I have a child I'm raising, it's just expensive and it's overwhelming. I will argue that today, 30 years ago, that will be the case, but today, especially, we have financial industry is not only available for high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals, right? It's also now available for people who just started. I built the entire firm on that, right? So there's different options and levels out there that are available to people. They just need to learn and find those options for themselves. The only thing that the challenge that is persistent, and it will exist probably forever or for many, many years, the difference in how long we live. And that's something that women will have a challenge, and they have to plan way in advance. It's not fair to say that women and men play on the same playground, because women on average live 10 years longer than a man. So if I'll start doing the financial plan for women and men, and at 65 they end up with the same amount of money, the probability of success for the man will be way higher than for women, because she will live naturally longer, right? So that's something that women have to understand early in life. They have to think about this early in life, because they have to start way much earlier in order not to put too much pressure on themselves. And women who start after 35, they have so much more pressure on building their assets and building successful retirement than girls at their 20s. So I think that's the main suggestions I will have for girls is you have to understand that you will live long life, hopefully everyone, right? Longer than a man. You have to plan for that. You cannot plan just like a man. It's different, again, different playgrounds. And you have to start. It's simple as that. There is a stuff available out there for you to start. You don't have to have a lot of money. You can have as low as $50. You can start. And I think that's what important to deliver. But again, lack of confidence. I think that's we just good with that.
Okay, Shelley, I'm glad to see that you're back. Shelley, this one I'd love to hear your thoughts on. How can women get involved in the cryptocurrency community, and what resources are available for females in particular?
So I'm going to answer this from two perspectives. If you'd like to work in the space, there is this impression that our space is dominated by crypto bros. It's very male dominated. And yes, in the engineering and product side of the business, it's not exclusively male, but it's very male dominated. So that in itself creates opportunities because there are firms out there who are really keen to provide internships to diverse candidates. And in the engineering product side, diversity means not white, not male. So there are opportunities there, which means that whilst there may not be outright positive discrimination, you're going to be one of a smaller pool of candidates, and you are more likely to bring those softer skills that are needed for team balance on internships. Now, on the side of compliance, legal, finance, accounting, HR, marketing, it's almost exclusively female in the space. And the reason for that is, and this is my own research and my personal opinion, is that up until about 2 to 3 years ago, the salaries in startups, so unless you were moving into a big name unicorn scale up, in a startup, it was come and work for us for half the market rate, but a chance at some equity. And women knowing that this was going to be a step down to take a step up, because finding people with a track record of experience in digital assets, you've got such a limited talent pool. There's been a very natural uplifting of the reward and recognition for having some experience. So it has been by taking a step down to take a step up that you can create opportunities. You know, you might say, I don't have a voice at the table. Go build your own table, and then you can have a voice at it. But you're not going to get all the trimmings that go around the sort of traditional finance false sense of security you might have with being with a larger, established, slower, duller organization. So it's a bit of a crazy ride in crypto. And words like security, longevity, stability, they're not really part of our lexicon, but they are things that you can create your own of in the space. And opportunities for females who wish to engage with crypto rather than those who wish to work in the space, but just there are many female influencers who have credibility in crypto, and mostly on LinkedIn, not usually on TikTok or social media. It's much more those who know what they're saying and are not doing it just for financial rewards of immediacy. You will find those individuals through LinkedIn and credible publications. So look out for those influencers and hit them up. You know, I've had people just contact me on LinkedIn who I can see they've put their homework in. They're not just saying, here's my CV, give us a job with one of your mates. They're actually saying, here's what I've been doing. I'd love you to run your eyes over this. Tell me what's the next step you would do if you were in my place. You know, there's real relationship building going on there rather than just a lazy sort of mass mail out to see if they can scattergun something. So people are really nice in crypto as well, in particular the women. You know, I've found great supportive environments and really beautiful friendships. So yeah, I'd say go for it.
I love hearing that. I love hearing a sense of
I will add
community.
to, I moved recently to Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico is known for community of crypto. And the same as Shelley said, I met so many amazing women who not only they are geniuses, but they also awesome, good people. It's fascinating. So it's the asking question. Don't be afraid of ask questions. That's what, I don't know. The easiest way to learn is ask questions.
Perfect. And just off the top of your head, Shelley, can you just tell us who are some of these females that are good to watch in terms of wanting to educate ourselves or keep abreast of what's happening in the industry, but from reputable voices or people that hold a little bit of authenticity in what they're saying, females who have been successful and with a little bit of integrity as well in the space? Who are some that come to mind?
Laura Noonan from the Financial Times. She is a journalist with integrity and research skills, who I'm really pleased she's covering this space. There is Sue Carpenter from Crypto UK. She basically runs the industry group from behind the scenes, and she's one of those amazing female leaders who leads from behind. On anti-money laundering, there's a number of very renowned experts like Samantha Sheen, and she covers digital assets, Natalie Hall. It changes really from what is my particular interest in any given week. So if I'm looking for a female voice who can talk about, freedom of speech, and can you censor a DAO, which is, we'll come on to DAOs later, I'm sure. But is censoring code actually censorship of free speech? You're only going to want to run a little way with that because it's a finite topic. Or likewise, someone who's just going to talk about the travel rule, or someone who's going to get deeply into layer 2 Ethereum value propositions. So there are some general great speakers, but I would look for hallmarks of credibility is that they speak at events not because they have to pay to play to speak at those events, but because they are brought in as a speaker of value to events. That's really a good distinguishing mark.
Perfect. Okay, so we've kind of covered the surface level and a little bit of how females are playing in this space. And now we're going to deep dive into some of the controversies and scandals that have come out of the crypto space in the last few years. And I really want to hear your insights and just to see what's come out of these situations. Okay, so Natalia, the first question I'm going to ask you is, some people argue that cryptocurrency is a bubble that will eventually burst. What is your opinion on this?
That's a tough question. I don't think it's a bubble which is going to burst. Just like Shelley said early when we just started the school, it's a technology here to stay, unless there will be some more advanced quantum technology that will, solve the mathematical puzzles way better or something like that. I think it's here to stay. It's a great concept. It's very, just think about the internet as a public infrastructure for sharing data, right? Cryptocurrency can be that public infrastructure for payments. So I think it has a lot of potential, but there is a lot of risks that right now we see in regulations. Who knows how they will behave? And there is a lot of different things that US government was talking, UK government was talking, that if they did do something like that, it will hit cryptocurrency world significantly, right? So it will not burst in the sense of bubble, but I will say there are a lot of external things that it still have to find themselves in order for it to survive. And then also like the simple as, it's like Bitcoin, for example, it's all in supply and demand, right? It obviously can go to zero if there is no demand, if people no longer interested in it. What can cause that, right? So there's different topics that could argue that cryptocurrency can go away because of these factors. But again, there's a lot of factors have to play in order for it to happen.
Shelley, what are your
I have
thoughts
a
on this?
respectfully very different view. Is that I'd say if someone's talking about crypto is just a bubble that's going to burst, my view would be you're 18 months late. Where have you been for the last 18 months? It was a bubble. It did burst. And guess what? The pace of development, investment in the technology has continued at the same pace as before. The speculative investment by little people, and I'm sorry, it was little people like me who took the haircut. If someone was saying, buy this, it's going to go 10x, where did they think that value was going to come from? Value isn't just spontaneously created. It will have been because someone was willing to pay 10 times more for something than you bought that. And as every pyramid scheme, the moment you're not at the very top of the pyramid and don't jump before the base is too wide, you're a loser. So I don't talk to people who say, oh, isn't it all a scam? And like, why are you doing crypto? I'm just like, I don't have the time.
And it's very important though that all of this past couple of years, what we saw, that the way Shelley describes it as the burst, and a lot of things happen. Not only it's continues to be very strong. A lot of people reach out to me and like about the regulations and what's going on. They're like, "This is horrible, right?" And I'm like, "No, this is great. It's too big to be ignored now."
Yeah, I mean,
it's they finally have to do something. They finally have to regulate because it's too big to be ignored. And then on the factor that cryptocurrency, like in general, from the perspective of clients and prospective financial advisors, I know only data in US, but the people who kept the cryptocurrency during those past 2 years, I think it's 68%. 28% or something want to add, and only the rest are remove or reduce it. So the strength of people who actually want to stay in the space is extremely high. I was very surprised to see it among the financial advisors, because the access for financial advisors is very limited in the United States. There's not that many companies that actually have those products available to be offered to clients. So it was very interesting to see their strong opinion on that.
Okay, so consensus is that it's here to stay, yeah? And like you said, Natalia, the fact that there's so much talk about regulation is a clear indicator of this, yeah? Okay, the next one, Shelley, I'm going to direct this at you. Some people believe that cryptocurrency is used primarily for illegal activities. How would you respond to this claim? And what are some legitimate use cases for cryptocurrency?
Okay, so how would I respond? Well, I just wouldn't, because factually, that's not an evidence position. So factually, illicit use of cryptocurrency is far lower than cash, and the FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, which is a supranational body that looks after money laundering for each of the member states who've joined the FATF. So like the US and every country in the European Union pays regard to the FATF research, and they say, maybe 1 to 2% of crypto is used for illicit purposes, whereas in cash it's over 15%. And you've got to be a pretty stupid criminal if what you're going to do is going to be absolutely immutably traceable on a public blockchain. It just doesn't make sense that that is going to be your medium of exchange. And although we hear about the sorts of of frauds and scams where people have their wallets drained. That's not a crypto issue. That's a scam issue. And people do the same things with people's investment accounts, which is in fiat currency. They do it with the deeds of houses, which is real property. You know, scammer's going to scam, hater's going to hate. The medium that is being used as crypto actually makes asset recovery far more feasible than in other asset classes that are the subject of scams. And yeah, again, you've got to be careful. It is a new environment. It's not always intuitive as to, is this for real or is this a scam? You're maybe not going to know. So keep things slow, keep things steady, diversify not just in what you do, but also who you do it with. And so that sort of principle of none of your eggs in one basket, I think apart from marriage, that's pretty true about everything, right? To do with investing. So I would just be careful who you choose to do business with and keep your due diligence on your counterparties and your trusted advisors. Keep that up to date. Have a weekly or monthly scan and see whether they're being impacted and be ready to act quick, because unlike fiat markets, digital assets are a 24/7 market and stuff can happen in 10 minutes that changes how you feel.
Wow. Okay. My next question, Natalia, let's direct this one at you. Okay, so it's kind of a two-pronged question. The first part, can you explain the concept of non-fungible tokens, NFTs, their significance in the world of crypto, and then bouncing off of that, this trend of celebrities endorsing NFTs?
NFTs in general, the easy way to explain it is sort of based on the blockchain, the way we were saying, right? The tracing of all the history, it's an ownership. So that's how we can view it. It's a great technology. I think it's awesome technology. And I think it was advertised badly because of all the meme and all of that stuff, the second part of the question. Now, let's start on the good side. Why I think it's great. I don't know if you guys came across purchasing a house, but I think this is the best example I can ever tell clients when conversation comes to NFTs. When you have to purchase a house, you have to go through so many documents, actions, and pay to every single person, like a title search, right? All those different things that have to find out the history of your new property. And then on top of that, you have to acquire the insurance title just to make sure that they didn't make a mistake. It's insane. And we're talking about here $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 cost for just all this BS, honestly. Now, with NFTs, you can just build the technology of that to share the ownership of properties with all the history behind it. Without all that, not only it will save you tons of money, but it also will be way more accurate. Now, when it comes to art, and NFTs are often thought of as art, right? Digital art. From a perspective of the memes, of the apes and stuff like that, it really depends. It's kind of like what Shelley said earlier. If someone is willing to pay money, then the price will go up. It's supply and demand. Nothing you can do. If someone wants to pay millions of dollars for ape, it's good for them, right? Some artists, I have a lot of artist friends that it was interesting. Like they make a very beautiful art, but they don't understand NFT space. They're like, how people can pay for this stuff? Like you cannot even put it on the wall. Like, what do you hold it on your computer, right? So everyone has a different perspective, but for the artists, for the musicians, it can be a great way to transfer the ownership. Once you sell it, even though they resell it in the future, you can get payments on that still, despite of that it's no longer your art that you sold it, right? So that actually provides a lot of opportunities for the art world. Now, when it comes to like all the endorsements and stuff, it's a good recent example. I was so surprised when Trump issued his NFTs and like it got sold like this, and the next day you could buy it like 3-4x higher. Insane. But again, the question is here, when you put your money into something, you have to have a belief and value in it, right? Some people believe in value in that, and that's great. But with anything else, you have to make your research. You have to understand there's because it's such a new area, there will be a lot of that kind of stuff that today it's extremely expensive, tomorrow it's almost worthless, because there is a lot of hype and there is a lot of speculation, and that's not gonna away. And it's true with traditional art as well. Very often we don't really have system in place to value those arts and properties. And I know a lot of interesting projects that are working towards that, so that will be interesting to see. Whoever paid for the ape, and will it, whatever they will come up with a rating, will it match or not? But stuff like that, it's a very interesting topic. I would like to know more of what Shelley thinks about it from the compliance perspective, because that's a more interesting.
Yeah. So interestingly, MICA, the Market in Crypto Assets Regulation, which has been voted in by the EU last Thursday. And sorry, I've got an echo. Is it possible?
Oh, let me mute.
From your end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
So NFTs are specifically outside the regulatory perimeter because the use case is not yet settled, and they are not used as financial instruments in general. So it's not an easy fit in the same way that either a currency or a security is an easy fit into existing regulatory frameworks. But with NFTs, what Natalia said really resonated with me was that it's like investing in art. There may be some people who do it for the love of art. There's some people who do it because they think they're going to make a lot of money doing it. And there are those same sorts of speculative investors into NFTs. But where I'm seeing the use cases already in action is where artists are producing physical art, but to govern the provenance of that art. And just like Natalia said about the royalty generation. So when that art is bought by a dealer, an NFT goes with the art that gives the ownership with the NFT. And when the NFT is what is traded as the proof of ownership of the art, then the artist can retain whatever degree of royalties is set in the smart contract for each onward sale of that art. Yeah, as you can see, I'm waiting for that space to mature a little bit before I go in there, because I never got it. But I know there's people who did. And I know that for artists, this is providing a new way of working where you're not condemned to poverty forever if your art becomes popular.
Yeah, it's
Shelley. Yes, sorry, Natalia.
It's a lot of it also right now is collectibles. That's just think about that. If you started investing, right? Are you investing and building your wealth by buying pieces of art? You're probably not there yet, so why would you go and buy NFT? So for young people, I always say, like, look, let's be smart here. You start in investing, you put in money aside, right? You save, then you start invest, and then once you get there and you're interested in art, that's great. You can diversify. But for a person who just starting, I don't think this is the area just yet to be explored. And again, it has a lot of great opportunities, and hopefully we'll be using that technology with a lot of different things. But for investment perspective, it's a collectible. It's a property, so it has to be looked at this as is.
Yeah, it's like buying little crystal figures and putting them on the mantelpiece. It's like, you may have one that's like from the 16th century in Japan that you picked up by accident. And there are lots of NFT airdrops where you can pick up NFTs for free or just for the gas fees. And that's a good way that if you want to become familiar with the space and get some sense of what the value is around that stuff, it'll be like collecting Coca-Cola glasses from petrol stations. Is that yeah, they may have been for free and now you can sell them for $10, but you're not going to send the kids to college on that.
Yeah.
Okay. And Shelley, your thoughts on celebrities endorsing these NFTs? What are your
I'd just say
thoughts on
kudos
this?
to Taylor Swift, and to the rest of the celebrities. Shame on you. You have a responsibility to your public and you failed them.
Yeah. Yeah. Are any of them being held accountable? I know that there have been some rumors. I think Tom Hardy was one. Kim Kardashian, I believe, was questioned on something. Is there any accountability for celebrities that are endorsing things within the space that maybe they haven't done their due diligence about what exactly they
the
are endorsing?
accountability that was slapped on, in particular Kim Kardashian, was an amount of money she doesn't usually get out of bed for. So in terms of it being a deterrent, I don't see it being a deterrent.
Okay.
The only case I saw for the I'm not familiar with the replications for the celebrities, but after FTX, a lot of the influencers who mention FTX, they got fined because they were telling to their high audience that buy FTX, go in there, work with them, and stuff like that.
Well, I think any investment advice should come from a qualified, certified, insured, credible, got their own skin in the game advisor. Sorry, but I just think that there's a reason you've got to be qualified, certified, insured, regulated, and there is no exception for that just because you happen to be famous for something else.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Shelley, can you discuss any potential regulation and legal challenges facing the industry?
Oh my God, where would I start? So, yeah, I think we're seeing some really dynamic regulations emerging in the Far East and the Middle East, who are taking the lead on this. And whilst we have very strong positive rhetoric in Europe, because it's a slower, bigger beast, it's going to be, Europe's going to take a longer time to get there than the African continent, the whole of Asia, the whole of the Middle East. They're already there. These are the same sorts of countries where when mobile phones became de facto the way we all now communicate, is that they were way ahead of the West because they didn't have the fixed line infrastructure to the same extent. So there was less transitioning to happen. They just went straight into digital communications. And I think that you're going to see the same thing there in terms of regulation. So the use cases are in higher use, and the adoption is more mass adoption. So the need to address regulatory concerns, and in particular, because in Asia Pacific and the Middle East, the unbanked and the underbanked need taking care of. And there are just too many obstacles for those disenfranchised individuals to get through with, for example, simple KYC. If you don't have a passport, you can't pass KYC. Well, there are people who don't even have birth certificates because it was either get a birth certificate or we can buy another chicken. And they always bought the other chicken.
Yeah.
So how are those individuals going to create an economy that's fair to them with TradFi style regulation? So we're seeing the emerging regulatory frameworks come out of places like Dubai, for example, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Bahrain. They're all really working very hard on this and engaging with industry. Europe, we're seeing, here's what we're going to deliver to you. Just suck it up. And if we've made a very obvious mistake, let us know and we may change it. And that consultation is a lot more time consuming. Now, the interesting territory for me is the United States. And why is it interesting? Because there is what appears to be a hostile regulatory environment where the beauty of crypto was the low barriers to entry, the choice and diversity of experience you could have. With the SEC saying most crypto is a security, what they're doing is placing the barriers to entry on the tokens themselves instead of on the investors. And instead of saying to investors, here's how we're going to protect you, it's basically choking the market. And there's a very interesting thought piece came out a couple of weeks ago, which is so worth a Google because it just blew my mind, called Choke Point 2, which was written by a US law firm about how US policy led to choke point 1, which was related to gambling, marijuana, pornography, all having their fiat on and off ramps being choked to drive the business away. But it didn't drive the business away. It drove the business. It's like whack-a-mole. This business is here. There's a demand for it. So it just went offshore where there were even fewer protections. Or it went underground where there are no protections. It meant that those who were employed in those industries couldn't benefit from state and federal protections that, had they been viewed as legitimate businesses, could have brought prosperity, could have raised the bar, could have been better for society. So I think the hostile environment and the lack of engagement with industry in the US is confusing for me. No, I just think, why? What a shame. What a missed opportunity. Why would you want to be the one country that's going la, 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 putting your fingers in your ears and your head in a bucket of sand?
It's, but
Natalia, what is your thoughts?
I absolutely agree with that. The same here with the politics too. That is just lack of knowledge. It's insane, and lack of desire to learn. It's simple as that. There is such a demand here in US, and for some reason it's been exactly that. And it's even simpler to the everyday life. When we file our taxes, US still doesn't have a good answer of how to file it. And you will see that some CPAs say that you should file it as a property and others say as a security, but there's a very different treatment and taxation when you file as two different factors. So they have to step up, they have to make some decisions and choices. They also have to be open to the demand. But I think the problem in United States, just like, I don't know if you remember all the previous big scandals in US with investment markets and the companies, it's just that we open to privilege of our older white men. When they say something, we'll listen. And then now it seems like all our regulations and the government are exactly that. And they just not ready to listen to the rest of public. And there's a huge mismatch there between the two. They're not on the same page at all. I don't know. It's interesting to see. I think we just need a lot of more young and smart people in those areas. And you slowly see that, but it's not, I mean, I can tell you, I spoke with so many accounting firms just to find a few accountants who understand more or less cryptocurrency, and they don't even understand it. They're not pros. So this is a problem. We've been in cryptocurrency already for some time. Those people have to be educated on this. Has to be a part of the test that they do, CPA test, right? And yet you cannot really find anyone who can help you to file cryptocurrency. And you can ask, and literally that happened to us last week. We asked one CPA, and then we just, for sake of joke, called another one and asked. And the opinions on the same question were completely polarized. It's insane. So
wow.
It's, I can go in, but
that is crazy. Okay, so I know this next question is a little bit difficult to answer, but personal predictions, or maybe where you would like this to be going. Shelley, what do you see, or how do you see the future of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? What are your
So
thoughts
I
on this?
ricochet between two views of it's going to be awesome. There's going to be less friction. There's going to be more inclusion, to complete disaster scenarios of there's going to be something happens, the internet breaks, and everything that was on a blockchain shall no longer exist because all electronic files are going to be wiped. So yeah, I'm thinking of like the right script for the movie of going from there to there and then recovering back again. But it's really complex. And I think that, you know, these are only in isolation. Looking at crypto isn't going to give a true picture about how crypto is going to function. It's more going to be about how is Web3 going to propagate, because that's where there are even more use cases for crypto. And what's going to happen with artificial intelligence, machine learning. Are we going to have data issues that mean that no one is going to want to be using crypto and having that electronic footprint? Are we going to have the singularity where, you know, an AI becomes so much smarter than us? It takes over and says, what do you mean Bored Ape Club? Like, let's get rid of that. You're wasting your time, humanity. I don't know. It's like the sky is full of black swans. So any predictions are really challenging. But in the immediate future, I can see that there is space being created here for those who are less enfranchised than the white guys. And that's really awesome. In particular for this community, the mobility options that crypto can give you is amazing, where that needing to have a bank account is, you know, you won't remember the days like when even your credit card was basically a pre-printed check template, and you had to iron your card in a special machine, and there was some carbon paper, and you still had to sign it and without your signature. So it was like basically a more efficient way of writing a check, but it was still the same sort. So where is that going to be in terms of not just payments but banking, where it's immediate settlement rather than, you know, in those olden days, you'd get your credit card slip and then you'd post it to the credit card company. And then they'd stamp it and say they'd received it. And then they'd post it on somewhere else for processing. And then you'd get a telex saying it's been processed. You know, I mean, the way stuff used to happen and the way it's changed, I'm so excited about what's coming next, but I don't know what it's going to look like.
I agree completely. I think it's Shelley said it. You cannot say it better, but it's exciting. There is something will happen. It will mature in the way that we probably don't know yet. But I think interesting way of thinking, and that's my hopeful thinking, that, you know, something would happen back with the internet and how internet changed so much things we do. Something like this will happen with this technology. That's a hopeful, wishful thinking, that we will see that kind of change coming someday, and then 30 years from later, we will be like, do you remember doing that? Like browsers, do you remember? How funny. Stuff like that. But there's also what Shelley said originally also is very important. There's a lot of chances for it to go sideways too. So again, you have to be on top of this. You have to be involved. You have to be present, and you have to stay on top of the news information. It's critical right now for this space.
Okay. Shelley, do you believe that cryptocurrency has the potential to become a mainstream form of payment?
It already is in Turkey. And certain areas where, and actually Turkey's a really interesting use case, because Turkey, although still considered in many ways a developing nation, is doing pretty well and is very populous, but faces 70% annual inflation on the sovereign currency. And so there has been mass adoption, because even the volatility in crypto looks benign compared to the volatility. Well, it's not volatility, it's a one-way street with the Turkish lira. So I believe that there is, it's already happened, dude.
Okay. Yeah. Natalia, your thoughts?
I absolutely believe that too. And I think what Shelley was saying about the developed countries, that will be adopted by them faster than by the countries that have a lot of regulations. Will be way more slower. But I just see, even I'm originally from Ukraine, and in Ukraine right now with the war, how people who didn't know how to use their cell phone, and I still have my family there, so I know now know everything about cryptocurrency. It's fascinating. Sometimes it's just like that, and I think we will see that way more faster in the developed countries first, and then we step up probably. But it's a cheaper and faster way. You cannot beat that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and to end off today's interview, the big one that I'd like us to unpack a little bit. Okay, so there have been several high-profile cases of fraudulent cryptocurrency schemes in recent years, such as the case of Ruja Ignatova and OneCoin, as well as FTX. Do you think there are sufficient regulatory measures in place to prevent such fraud from occurring? And what steps can investors take to protect themselves? Okay, Shelley, let's start with you.
So it's actually quite a short answer from me on this one. I disaggregate the fraudsters and the bad actors from the medium they're using, because being a fraudster is nothing new. And what happened at FTX was very similar to what happened with Bernie Madoff, just that was crypto and this was money. So I'm not seeing that there's a new typology. It's just there are new actors in the space. And is there sufficient regulation to prevent frauds? Absolutely. Is there enough policing and resources dedicated to prevention, identification, detection, and punishing those horrible people who do this? No.
Perfect. Ladies, thank you so much. This brings us to the end of our conversation today. It has been very insightful, and I'm sure that our listeners have taken a lot home with them, especially for those of us who are still trying to figure out the space and want to dip our toes into everything. Before we say goodbye, can you just let us know, Shelley, we can start with you. Where do people get in touch with you if they want to reach out? How do we?
So LinkedIn, Shelley Schachter Calm. I'm also a lecturer for ACAMS on the crypto assets specialization certificate. I wrote the exam and I run the course. So I did courses around the world there where I'm leading the workshops on how to apply compliance into digital spaces. And any given week on a Wednesday night, I'm in the Crypto Club Global in London, Soho, and we're opening a new branch in Dubai in a couple of months. So you can find me there. Any Wednesday, the drinks are on me.
Perfect. We'll be sure to link everybody's details at the bottom of the video. And that's it from Her Expat Life's channel today. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you like what we do, if you're interested in our services, please visit herexpatlife.com. Also follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and make sure to subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with all the news and everything about having a global lifestyle and advancing a global lifestyle. Thank you so much, ladies. I hope to speak to you both.
Awesome hanging out with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye.